Hi, welcome to SBR.TV. I'm Peter Loshak. It's bowl time in college football, and today we're going to talk a little bit with Justin Seven about general strategies and approaches to handicapping and betting the college bowl games. Justin Seven, of course, is the SBR moderator and stat modeling expert who's been doing weekly college football previews with us all year long. It's the week before the first bowl games start right now, and we will preview specific games here on SBR.TV, but right now we're just going to talk a bit about general strategies for betting bowl games in general. So Justin, thanks for doing this. I guess my first question to you is how do you view bowl games as compared to regular season games in terms of betting opportunities? Do you like betting them better, worse, or are they about the same as regular season games?
They're just a game like any other, but you see there are two differences that sometimes give you extra value. The first is there's a lot more public interest in these games, so that there's more line movement. And anytime there's line movement, there's an opportunity on one side or the other. The second thing that's very different about the bowl games is when a team has a month to prepare for a game, that changes the way the game is played significantly. Mainly, you're going to see more offensive production as a result of that, and you're going to see more evenly matched games because of that.
Okay, and you mentioned in earlier videos that we did that you actually adjust your model a bit for bowl games specifically. So what adjustments are those that you make, and why do you make them?
Big dogs, you move them about 2 points in there, favorably, and you raise the total a little bit. And again, that's because of when you have more preparation time for both teams, it tends to equalize it just a little bit, but more significantly, it increases the scoring.
Let's talk about props now for a second. I know prop betting is one of your specialties, and I know you love betting props in the big NFL games, especially the Super Bowl. So how do you handle prop betting with the bowl games? Do you look for the same kinds of opportunities? They tend to offer a lot of soft prop lines for the bowl games like they often do in the NFL?
There are a lot of props, but the difficulty in betting college football props is that it is harder to get defensive statistics. If you go to an ESPN page or a Sportsline page, there'll be offensive statistics, but it's not very easy to get yards per play for a defense, or a lot of the other defensive statistics you really need. And you can get them, but it takes work. And because of that, I'm not going to invest the amount of energy in the bowl game props that I would on a Super Bowl.
Okay, another thing I want to get your take on that a lot of people discuss, and seems like it should be a relevant factor, is sort of the intangible stuff, the intangible factors that can come with some bowl games. Probably the most obvious example of that is when like a big program or a highly touted team has a disappointing year and they get a disappointing bowl assignment. Then they go into like a lower tier bowl game that they're not happy to have to be in. And then they go up and they're facing an opponent as a big favorite that might be very excited about the assignment, excited to have the opportunity to upset a big name program in a relatively high profile game. So that's sort of like a letdown imbalance, a motivational imbalance that you sometimes hear about in some of these games. There's examples of this every year. This year you might point to the Emerald Bowl as a good example of that, where USC is off of a disappointing year and now they're a 9.5-point favorite over Boston College. So do you consider intangibles like that at all?
I probably should, but I don't. I don't know of a good way to evaluate it, so I disregard it.
Right, okay, but it's not something that you dismiss if someone had a good theory about an intangible factor. It's something that you could possibly consider as a valid point.
I would consider it, and I would really like to get data on situations like that. But it's so hard to get, one of the fun things about handicapping sports, you don't have nearly the amount of data you need. So you can make an assumption. I assume a premier program playing in an underrated bowl will underperform going forward. And you'll find examples of that, but not enough to be a meaningful sample. But you may be right, even though there's not the sample to verify it. And the people who win at sports can draw these conclusions from minuscule samples that are predictive going forward.
Right. Okay. Well, let's get your take on something sort of along those lines. It's something that I asked you to look at before we shot this. It's the thread started on SBR by the poster Snapstick that's gotten a lot of notice on SBR. It's about a system based on Sagarin ratings that the poster says has done extraordinarily well over the past 3 years. The thread is called Sagarin College Bowl System Plays. poster's name is Snapstick, and the deal is that you basically just want to bet against any bowl team that had a strength of schedule rating, according to Sagarin, of 60 or higher, unless, of course, a bowl has two teams with strength of schedule 60 or higher, and then I guess you bet on the team with a lower strength of schedule. According to Snapstick, this has gone 30-7 against the spread over the past 3 years. So I asked you to take a look at this. What did you make of that thread and this idea in general?
Yeah, I wouldn't bet on it. And there are two reasons. I mean, first, I haven't verified his record, but another poster mentioned that the system did much worse in years past. So you have a data mining problem only using the last 3 best years. But the second issue that's much bigger, his system doesn't look at the line you're betting. And if you're not reflecting the line, there's no system that's going to work. And as an example, let's say his system concludes that Army is a play, and Army's plus 15 right now. But would Army at plus 13 be a play? Would it be a play at plus 11? Would it be a play at plus 9? If you had big hitters betting the system because it was right, that line would keep coming down. And at what point would it not become a play? And the system does not distinguish at what point it's a good play or a bad play. It just says it's a play at any line. Any system that says this is a play at any line is going to lose money.
Okay, that's definitely true. We don't know what lines he was using, but just to be devil's advocate here for a second, assuming that his numbers here are correct, and I didn't check them, but assuming that they are, on a practical level, even though the lines do move, sometimes, of course, they move quite a bit. In reality, probably if you looked at these numbers and compared them with the closing lines, the opening lines, or the midweek lines, or whatever, you'd probably get pretty similar results. You know, there probably wouldn't be too many games that actually changed from a win to a loss, right?
Sure, but I'm not talking about his past record. I'm just saying, if you give me a system that says bet the Cowboys no matter what the spread is, or bet any team, and I'm not going to look at the spread, your system is not handicapping. Now, a good system would say, an example of a system that might work would be this Sagarin system. If this Sagarin system likes a play, you make a 2-point adjustment on your model, like based on strength of schedule, if you're not already including a strength of schedule adjustment. And that might be a correct adjustment, and then you say, do I like it or not? But if you're just saying, bet any team that's played a tougher schedule, even if they're a pick or a 20-point favorite when they should be pick, you're going to lose money.
All right, okay. And then there's one other thing I want to ask you about, which is another widely known system that I've heard mentioned over the years, and that's the one that says basically just bet any double-digit dog in a pre-New Year's Day bowl. So first of all, have you heard of that? And second of all, you have anything to say about it?
Yes, I've heard of it. Second, yes, I have something to say about it. Let's say I'm a bookmaker, and I know people are going to bet this no matter what. That people are going to bet these big dogs no matter what. Then I'm going to look at teams that might be double-digit dogs. I'm looking at the lines right now, and I actually looked at this. Look at these 4 games. First, I want you to look at Army-Navy. Navy opened up as a 14-point favorite, and it closed at 16. So 16 was probably the right number. They opened it up for 14, so the people betting these double-digit dogs just got screwed. So if you bet the double-digit dog early, you're on the wrong side. Look at Wyoming-Fresno State. It opened up at 10. Double-digit dog. It closed at 12.5. So, a third example, Nevada opened at 12, closing at 15.5. So all 3 of these games, there's one other that didn't have much movement, Cincinnati, Florida. People, the double-digit dog is clearly the wrong side, at least early. So here you already have the lines makers making adjustments for what what may or may not be a valid trend. So if you're betting, but my point is, if you're betting a double-digit dog blindly without doing your handicapping, you're going to lose money. What you need to do is, if you say, if you can explain why these have done well in the past, you can say, well, maybe there's a motivational factor, maybe there's more equality, and I'm going to do a 2-point adjustment to my model. And then you look and see if it's a play. But if you do it blindly, if you do anything blindly without looking at the market price in your own handicapping, you're going to lose money.
Right. And we did actually see something similar happen recently in the NCAA tournament in college basketball, actually, where the dogs in the first 2 rounds at one point had a great ATS record historically, but the market soon adjusted recently over the past 2 years, I think, and you could sort of tell that something was up because there wasn't the same kind of early movement that there had been in the past. The lines on opening either weren't moving as much or they were moving in favor of the favorite, and that dog covering trend definitely crashed and burned in those years where we saw that. So this is actually, that does remind me a little bit of that. Okay, well, I think we got it. I think that's about it for now. I'm definitely looking forward to discussing all the individual bowl games.
Yeah, I got a lot of interesting matchups coming up.
Okay, great. Right on. Well, thanks, Justin. That's our general strategy bowl betting preview for SBR.TV. I'm Peter Loshak.